One of the things that we know about Lucy is that she wanted to be a nurse from a very early age. This was apparently because she herself had a traumatic early existence, and she was very grateful towards a nurse who essentially saved her life. So her friend Dawn Howe, who's pictured on the screen here, made it very clear when she was interviewed by the BBC that Lucy had always wanted to work as a nurse and had never considered any other career. So this wasn't something she went into lightly, and she can't possibly, at that very early age, have decided, right, well, I want to become a nurse so that I can murder babies in the future. This was a vocation for Lucy. It was something she was extremely passionate about.
Does Lucy Letby fit the profile of a healthcare serial killer?
No.
Another big red flag which would indicate that Lucy is in no way someone that you would suspect of murder is that her character and personality is not consistent with this. So I've written down a few of the issues here that point to Lucy being literally as far away as possible from being a murderer in terms of personality and character as you could possibly imagine. So the first thing is there's no evidence of macabre or dark interests.
There's no evidence that she's fascinated by serial killers.
In fact, everything points to strong evidence of femininity. So if we look at her house, for example, it was always decorated in a way that you would typically associate with a female. She had a nursery that she hadn't even begun to redecorate, and she probably wouldn't have done because she always expressed very clearly from a very early age that she wanted to have a family, and that was a priority for her. The next thing on the list is there's no criminogenic factors. So this refers to factors that could point to a possibility of someone being a criminal. So she wasn't antisocial. There's no indication of lack of empathy, quite the opposite.
She is very social. She's very socialized. She has friendship groups. She has people in the hospital who befriended her, mentored her.
She didn't engage in substance or alcohol abuse. There's no lack of ambition or discipline, no vocational problems. There's no history of violence. There's no mental health issues. Sometimes self-harm can be associated with a high risk of criminality. There's no dysfunctional family history. In fact, she was very, very close to her parents. The next thing is she had a love of animals. She had indeed adopted rescue cats. You can see Lucy here with two cats. These, in fact, are not her rescue cats, which are on the screen now. This is Tigger and Smudge. These were her rescue cats. So she, broadly speaking, had a love of animals, which is, again, not something that you would associate with someone that had issues related to criminogenic factors. If we go back to the list again, she was very sociable with a strong friendship group. She had a very close relationship with her parents. She never made any reference to murders or deaths related to the unit anywhere, except for saying that she felt very sorry for the parents of twins that died on the unit because she had a particularly good relationship with them. And equally, not only did she have this good character, this very stable character, but there's no evidence of any deterioration in her mental state or her character. Usually as people begin killing and then become a serial killer, they disintegrate and descend into an ever more troubled state of mind. And that just simply didn't happen in Lucy Letby. We know that from the way she was in the unit, and we know that from what was recovered from her house. There's simply no indication that she had deteriorated in any way. And then the last thing that we should mention as well is that there's no motive. So she didn't give any indication of any pleasure or pride in any supposed killings, as is common with serial killers. In fact, she never referenced them at all, not least because they didn't happen. But she clearly had no motive, and indeed the prosecution didn't even suggest a motive for these supposed murders, because Lucy doesn't benefit from them in any way, quite clearly, and she didn't demonstrate any behavioural differences, either negative in terms of her dissent or positive from her perspective in terms of noting these murders. So there is no reason for Lucy to want to harm infants. It's not consistent with anything that we know about her. Everything about her character, personality, what we know about her as a nurse points to innocence.